Let us understand how partition works within Spark. Partition is the way of organizing the data within the data storage, that is the HDFS, based on a value within a column. Let's take an example. Assume I have a table where n number of rows available and there is a column called state or nationality. It is going to maintain the nationality of that particular player. I'm taking an example of the player info where each player nationality will be maintained as a column within the row. Normally when I store that particular data, it would get stored in a single table. So whenever I do a query against the table based on the nationality column, it would scan the entire table. If I partition the data, what would happen? The data would get divided into partitions based on the value available within the nationality column. If there are 10 unique values, 10 different partitions would get created. That means the partitions will be equivalent to the number of unique values available within the column with which we are going to do the partition. Let's do a small example. I have the Spark shell where I'm going to create a table by selecting the data from the NHL database. Let us check what are all columns available within the table NHL.playerInfo. I have a column called nationality, which is going to have the nationality information about various players. And let's check how many records I do have within it. I have 2246 records. Now I'm going to create a new table by partitioning this particular data based on the nationality of the player. Let me go ahead and create a new table, and I'm going to give the information on I need to do the partition. To enable partition, I need to set a property, the dynamic partitioning mode, as non-strict, so that I can set with the property set hive.exec.dynamic.partition.mode equal to non-strict. Then I can create a table where I'll mention what is the column with which I wanted to do the partition. Create table, the table name, the database name dot table name using hive partition by the column nationality by selecting the data from this specific table NHL.player_info. So within the data location where the data would get stored, it would get divided into that many number of files based on the value available within the nationality column. So let's get into this specific location. So for each nationality, there will be a folder within which I would have the data. So let's take the example of this specific folder. I would have a file. So this particular partition file would have all the data corresponding to the records where nationality is equal to AUS. So what advantage it's going to provide? Whenever I'm going to fire any query against the column with which the partition is done, it doesn't need to scan through the entire table. Let us see how the data is organized within the source table. So within this specific table, I should have a source within this specific location. So let us check what do we have within this particular folder. So I have only one file. So this file is going to have all the records. So any query, it needs to scan through the entire table or the entire data set, and that's going to take longer time. So partition is nothing but dividing the files physically based on the values available within that specific column. We can have the chain to partition, in the sense within one partition we can have another column based on which we can do the partition also. Partition will be used against the column with which more frequently we do the where condition query, as well as we will be doing the partition against the column with which we are going to do the join.